Here's another example of a complex statement that does something that we don't typically do in English, unless we're saying something complicated and being very formal about it. This statement says, "It is not the case that, if Jake learns to juggle, then he will win the talent contest." So we begin as we did before by identifying the simple statements. And it looks like we only have two here. Jake learns to juggle, Jake will win the talent contest. Our simple statements are going to be Jake learns to juggle, we'll call that P, and Jake will win, or just Jake wins the talent contest. That's Q. Okay, how do we know what to do with this? Notice that this statement begins with the phrase, "It is not the case that." What that phrase does is to negate everything. Whenever you see a sentence that starts with, "It is not the case that," that is not whatever it is that is not the case. Okay, so in this statement, what is it that is not the case? Well, it is not the case that if Jake learns to juggle, then he will win the talent contest. And I ran out of space, so I abbreviated talent contest. That's an if-then statement with a simple statement for the if part and a simple statement for the then part. In fact, that statement is just if P, then Q. So if P, then Q, that's what it's not the case that. We'll have a not, and then if P, then Q in parentheses to show that we're negating the whole if P, then Q. Okay, so thus far, I have been writing a lot. And the reason I've been writing a lot is so that you have in your notes what the thought process was. However, I also want to show you one of these written out the way that I would actually write something like this out if I were working through it, and the way that I would recommend that you write this out when you're working through it. One of the things you're going to notice is that I'm marking up the sentence itself kind of a lot. You're going to be working on some homework on the computer, and I very strongly recommend that when you're doing that, you actually copy out the sentence that you're working with so that you can mark it up as you're parsing it. Okay, so we have this long, complex statement. If Kate finishes the homework and does well on the exam, then she will not need the extra credit and will go out on Friday night. Okay, so the first step is to find the simple statements, but I think maybe our first step, our 0th step maybe, with a sentence this complicated is to take a deep breath. Okay, let's try to find the simple statements. There's a lot going on here, right? We have Kate finishes the homework, and then we have this does well on the exam. Who does well on the exam? Kate does well on the exam. If Kate finishes the homework and does well on the exam, then she will not need the extra credit. So we have she will not need the extra credit. And then we have this will go out on Friday night. Who will go out on Friday night? Well, the subject of this will is the she back here, right? There's a grammatical connection between will go out on Friday night and the she. So the simple statements are Kate finishes the homework. Kate does well on the exam. Then we have this sentence about she. Who is she? She is Kate. Kate does not need the extra credit. Oh, but our simple statement should be positive. So not Kate does not need the extra credit, but Kate needs the extra credit. And then our last simple statement is, we'll go out on Friday night. Who will go out on Friday night? She will go out on Friday night. Who's she? She is Kate. Kate will go out on Friday night. And again, I just put that in the present tense. So we'll name these statements. We've got P, Q, and then the next letter is R, and then maybe we'll have an S. Now, I just symbolized 4 simple statements, so I want to take a minute and look at those and say, are those really all different simple statements? They're not like one is in the present and one is in the past, or one is the negation of the other. But no, those really are 4 separate simple statements. I guess we'll live with that for now. Our next task is to identify what is the main connector here. Well, I mentioned those grammatical connections between the clauses as we were identifying the simple statements. Kate finishes the homework and Kate does well on the exam. That tells us that this part is a unit. It's combined like this. And she will not need the extra credit, and she will go out on Friday night. That has that same grammatical connection. That's also a unit. So what's left is this if-then. And this agrees with something that we already knew about if-then. Everything between if and then is a unit. Kate finishes the homework and does well on the exam is already going to be one part of a conditional. The if-then is our main connector because there's grammatical structure that tells us that the part between if and then is a unit, and the part after then is also a unit. So we'll symbolize that and throw in some parentheses. Okay, looking at the part between if and then, that's going to go here. Kate finishes the homework and does well on the exam. So that's an and statement. Before the and, we have Kate finishes the homework. That's just statement P. After the and, we have Kate does well on the exam. That's just statement Q. Okay. The if part, we're done symbolizing. The then part, looking through that, that's also 2 simple statements combined with an and. So we'll have another and here. Before the and, she will not need the extra credit. That's not R. And she will go out on Friday night. That's S. So our whole sentence is symbolized as, in parentheses P and Q, then in parentheses not R and S. And there we go. So that's what we would actually write if we were trying to parse this statement. And again, I really encourage you to copy out these complex statements when you're working on the computer so that you can mark them up in this way.